I wanted to show a quick video to talk about getting out of the habit of making excuses.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't ready. Chicken drumstick here. People freak out when they see me for the first time. There were times where I sort of looked at my life and thinking, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. And you keep on concentrating on the things that you wish you had or the things that you wish you didn't have. And you sort of forget what you do have. And there's no point, I believe, in my life where I wish I had arms, legs, I wish I had arms, legs, I wish I had arms, legs, because wishing won't help. But what I've seen in life are just a couple of key principles, and the first thing that I've seen is to be thankful. It's hard to be thankful, man. I tell you, when I was 8 years old, I sort of summed up my life and thought, I'm never going to get married, I'm not going to have a job, I'm not going to have a life of purpose. What kind of a husband am I going to be if I can't even hold my wife's hand? It's a lie to think that you're not good enough. It's a lie to think that you're not worth anything.
So that was a video from a young man named Nick Vujicic, and he's actually a big inspiration of mine. And I think it's important for people to look at that story. And when we start to talk about those excuses that I mentioned before, like I don't have the time or I don't have the energy, we can look at a story like that and we can say, you know what, maybe I do. Maybe I really do have the ability to do just about anything at all, if this young man can do that. So it's just some inspiration to supplement the conversation that we're having. The number 2 excuse that I get is money. And it's a difficult one, but Jeff said something before that was really powerful. And Jeff said, with passion, the money will follow. And I think that that's really true, and I think it's really important for us to remember. Not only will the money follow with passion, but sometimes we ask the question, well, how can I afford to do this? Well, the answer is maybe you can't, and maybe you won't. But what you can do is you can position yourself to succeed. So if you really want to pursue that passion, you can find a way around the challenges that are facing you. If you really want to go to that school, but you can't afford it, maybe you're going to go the extra mile to get that scholarship, or whatever it might be. If we have determination, drive, strength, and will, we have intensity, and we can begin living passionate lives and leading with passion. There's no doubt about that. So the last element of paid is direction. I want to tell another story. This story is about a French naturalist named Jean-Henri Fabrique. What this French naturalist did was he studied the natural world. And in studying the natural world, he was able to observe behavior and apply it to human beings as to why we do what we do. And in this particular experiment, what this French naturalist did was he took a large group of processionary caterpillars. Processionary caterpillars are named that because they march in a procession. They follow one another. So what he did was he took these processionary caterpillars and he lined them up in a never-ending circle around a flower pot. So they just kept going around and around and around this flower pot 24 hours a day because that's what they do. So the first day, he's observing them. They're going round and round. 24 hours, non-stop. They just keep following each other because he's positioned them this way in this never-ending circle. The second day comes, he comes back out, observes these caterpillars. They're doing the same thing. They're going around and around and around. Now, on or about the third or fourth day, he takes pine needles. He takes a handful of pine needles and he puts them in the center of this flower pot. Now, pine needles are the food of the processionary caterpillar. But those processionary caterpillars just kept going around and around and around. They actually went around and around 24 hours, 7 days, until they literally dropped dead of starvation and exhaustion with a bountiful amount of food only 6 inches away because they were confusing activity with accomplishment. Now, I'll bet that there are some people in this room that know somebody who's like that, who confuses activity with accomplishment. And these people, they're going and going and going all the time, and they're always busy. They never have time for anything, but we rarely see them accomplishing much, if at all. Okay? And the point of talking about direction is that without direction, there is no paid. There is no passion, authenticity, intensity, because we end up running on a treadmill and not getting anywhere. So what is the answer? How do we take all of that energy and make it so that it's practical and so that we can accomplish something? We give ourselves direction by identifying our goals. And if you look at the sheet that I gave you, the second assignment talks about goals. Now, when we start identifying our goals, we have to remember a couple of things. The first thing is that we need to be incredibly specific, because once we have the passion and we have the intensity, we need the direction. And the goals will give us that direction. So we can start by saying, well, where would I like to be in 6 months? And then where would I like to be in 1 year? And where would I like to be in 5 years? And we can really, by identifying goals at each one of those intervals, we have our direction and we have our path. And it's so important when we have this conversation with ourselves that we be specific. Well, what do I want to be doing every day in 5 years? Where do I want to live? What clothes do I want to be wearing? What type of people do I want to be surrounded by? How much money do I want in my bank account? The more specific that we are in identifying our goals, the more clear our path becomes, and the easier it becomes to get there. Okay, so there are 4 things you must do in this life. I recently read a beautiful Buddhist quote that really applies to this conversation that we're having about living and leading with passion. And what this quote says is that there are 4 things we need to do. The first is show up. Now, you've all done that because you're already here today, so you've got a head start. The second thing is speak the truth. And when we talk about authenticity, that is speaking the truth. In every sense of the word, living the truth, speaking the truth, and leading the truth. That combined with passion, and you are already on the road to success.